if you want, and if you're concerned at all, and you should be, about efficiencies in your office, okay, it really comes down, especially during the slow times, it really comes down to how much you can do.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
Ran into an appraiser recently, and I guess I come with a reputation, because the first thing he said to me was, "Okay, Dustin, I'm still using a clipboard and pen." I want to pause here and remind you, we are sponsored by Anow Software. Anow, of course, is the software that I use. Well, what do I use it for? To manage every stinking part of my appraisal business, folks. That's what Anow does. That's what it'll do for you. Go to anow.com/coach. One more time, anow.com/coach. Okay, folks. So I had an opportunity to meet an appraiser in person recently. And first, well, that's not true. I have met this appraiser before, but it's been a while since I've seen this appraiser, and shook hands. And first thing out of his mouth is, "Hey, Dustin, I'm still using a clipboard and pen." I mean, how do you respond to that? Okay, good for you. Sit down, let me teach you a few things. I don't know. What lessons can be derived from those that are using clipboards? But here's an interesting thing. I used to give a lot of workshop type presentations to other appraisers. I mean, these are typically classrooms of anywhere from 30 to 300. Okay. And it was, this was at a time that the transformation was happening into technology from what we had going before. And, I used to ask the question, I would say, how many of you, by raise of hands, are using a tablet or, some type of a smartphone or something really back then it wasn't really smartphone. It was either tablet or nothing. How many of you are using some type of computer, handheld computer in the field to gather your information? I remember the first time I asked that, and it was in a room of about 300 appraisers, and literally 3 hands went up. Okay. So 1%. And over the years that grew and grew and grew to where now I recently asked this question. It was in the last 12 months at a conference. And again, about 3 to 350 in the room, and almost every hand went up. I would say at least 85, 90% of the hands went up. There's very few people out there still using a clipboard and pen. I met one of them the other day. I know there's a few of you out there, okay? Today's episode, you don't need to turn it off, okay? You don't need to start yelling at the radio. Today's episode is not to belittle you. Today's episode is to rather... Well, okay, it is to belittle you. No, I'm kidding. It's not to belittle you. The purpose of today's episode is to talk a little bit about efficiencies and talk a little bit about why you should possibly consider, okay, you definitely should consider moving to a tablet. I want to pause here and remind you that we are, of course, sponsored by Anow Software. Speaking of technology, speaking of the way it can change the way that we do business, the way that you do business, it will. And specifically for me, I was literally on Anow. Let's see, we've been going a little over 3 minutes now. I was literally on Anow 4 minutes ago. So a minute before I jumped on here, it's the 5th of the month. Okay. And I jumped on there. I jumped on the analytics tab, and I know what I need to make on a daily basis in order to meet payroll and in order to live the lifestyle that I've become used to. Okay. I know what that number is. And on a regular basis, I jump on and I hit the month to date and I hit apply. And within seconds, I can see exactly how much revenue is rolling in the door, how much of that's been paid, how much of that is yet to be billed. I love it. I absolutely love Anow Software because it allows me to be a business owner and not worry about crunching the numbers. Check them out. Go to anow.com. Somebody asked me the other day to spell that. Okay. It's just like it sounds. ANOW. anow.com/coach. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. We're talking today about, had an encounter with an appraiser, and we had a fun talk, and he and I laughed, and I thought it was funny the way that he approached me. Hi, Dustin, I'm still using a clipboard and pen. No, he did not say it with pride. Well, maybe he did a little bit, but we did talk a little bit about it, and I said, man, you got to, just check it out. I said, are you using All Mode? Yeah, I'm using All Mode. Okay, would you just try it? And he goes, I've tried it. And he says, in fact, the honest truth is I've actually been using it a lot more the last couple of months. And I'm looking at him like, okay, what's next? Here we go. Moment of truth. And I can see some real benefits to it, was what came out of his mouth next. So good for him. He's making the switch. He's changing his mindset just a titch. Okay. What about the rest of you? There's very few of you out there. I get it. Okay. I would say maybe on an average 15, 20%, possibly. The last room I was in, I asked the question, it was about 10 or 15% we're still using, but it was a different type of a I'll tell you this. It was a mobile app workshop. Most people were there to learn how to be better and more efficient with their tablet that they were already using. Most of them were not there to be talked into moving to a tablet. Okay, most people who have made that decision are not going to show up to a workshop on it. So I think the statistics would be a bit skewed in a circumstance, and I think they probably were in that particular circumstance. Nevertheless, I'm talking to a few of you out there who are still using a clipboard and pen, who are still using 100-foot tape, who are still using the lovely roller. You know, do you remember that? You've all heard it, that episode on Sopranos, where they jump out of the car and they start beating this guy up, and he says,
"I'm only the appraiser. Let me appraise you this."
I'm only the appraiser. Oh, let me appraise you this.
I'm only the appraiser. Let me appraise you this. I'm only the appraiser. Let me appraise you this.
I don't know if you've noticed, but the guy is carrying a wheel. Okay, I'm just saying. I'm not saying you're going to get beat up, but there may have been a reason why they felt like they needed to rough this guy up a little bit. Okay, let's talk just briefly, if we can, about efficiencies. It's something that I refer to quite often. Okay, I'm just going to throw out a couple of things that I want you to consider. Okay. And both of them, of course, have to do with efficiencies. Both of them have to do with, what will this do for your business? And really, it comes down to this. And here's the thing: the conversation that ensued when I met with this appraiser is he informed me that, and it's something I've heard a lot, obviously. As a coach of appraisers and as somebody who has held the hand of so many appraisers, walking them through the difficult transition. Okay, many of them will say to me, and I think there's some merit. Okay, in what they're saying. I've done this forever. I don't really want to step back. It works for me. I'm going to keep doing it. Okay, great. You know what? That is a good excuse, but it's an excuse. Okay. Here's the lesson, the takeaway from today's episode, folks. If you want, and if you're concerned at all, and you should be, about efficiencies in your office, okay? It really comes down, especially during the slow times, it really comes down to how much you can do, okay? I shouldn't say especially during the slow times because it's really both sides, okay? On the slow times, it allows you to be able to spend more time marketing. On the busy times, it allows you to just do more volume. When you're able to cut a little bit off of each inspection, that's a little bit more and more and more. I had an opportunity on a presentation with Data Master. Actually, we were talking about Data Master, and we were talking about the various features. And one of the appraisers that was watching the presentation made the comment, well, that only takes me a minute. Okay. Hey, I get that. When you're doing 40, 50 appraisals a month, okay, that's another hour. That's another hour of your time for 1 month that you could be doing something else. What is that worth to you? I'll tell you, when you look at the quote unquote cost of Data Master, okay, it's less than $100 a month. Is your time worth $100 an hour? Mine is. And by the way, that was just one of the features of Data Master. He was just talking about one little thing that Data Master does, not to count the 10 other things that Data Master does to save time. Okay, that one little thing, he said, yeah, but that part only takes me 1 minute. Okay, then that part alone is worth the investment of something like Data Master. The same is true, of course, of utilizing a computer. Now, a lot of appraisers will rightfully say, Dustin, listen, I've done the tablet thing. And I've given it the 10 house challenge. Okay. You've heard of my 10 house challenge. Don't give up on the first 1, 2, 3. Okay. Really get to 8, 9, or 10 before you make a decision. But Dustin, I've done the 10 house challenge. I really learned the technology, and I can do an inspection faster with my clipboard and pen than I can with a computer. Well, duh. So can I. That's not where your time is saved. Appraisers, your time is not saved at the property necessarily. By the way, I actually think that I could probably do it a little bit faster. I really do. Could be wrong, but I think I could. Side by side, somebody got a clipboard and pen. I've got my computer. I've done it enough. I'll bet you it's going to be real close. But that's not where the time is saved. Now, some of you are already ahead of me. The time is saved back at the office, where you don't have to do what I call inspect again. Okay, you spend the time walking around that property, measuring each and every line and putting it down on a piece of paper. You've now got to go back to the office and, again, not measure, but draw every single one of those lines a second time. You've got to go through each of those rooms internally a second time because you're putting the photos in and labeling them. And with that, you've got to put down the quality, the condition, the materials a second time. Now, some of you are saying, well, Dustin, what's wrong with that? Well, nothing. And there are some positives there as well. You know, you really know that property if you've done it not once, but twice. Okay, I get that. I think that there's an argument to be made there. But I'll tell you, folks, with the way technology is and the way that it is inputted in a program like Total, it blows you away with what can be gathered, the information that can all be stored in your work file, that can all be stored in your report, and it's ready to go as soon as you upload it to the cloud. I was at an appointment just this morning, and I was working on my smartphone, and the guy was obviously tech savvy because he used the word cloud, and he wasn't talking about what was outside in the air. And he said, "Oh, they do that all in the cloud, huh?" I said, "Well, kind of. I'm actually doing it on my phone, but by the time I leave your driveway, I will have uploaded this report and the office will be working on your appraisal. Before I even get back to the office, they're working on it." He's like, "Wow, that's amazing." And you know what? It is amazing. It is amazing. And it allows you to be more efficient and more effective at what you do. Folks, I can't twist your arm. You know, some of you have made your decision, but it's been very, very satisfying to watch what has happened over just the last 7 years that I've been doing this as the appraiser coach. It's been wonderful to see the transitions that are occurring. Most appraisers understand the value of switching from the old technology, if you will, to the new technology. Of course, there's a few of you out there still using the wheel, and if you are, you be careful because
I'm only the appraiser. Let me appraise you this.
You might, I mean, it happens.
I'm only the appraiser. Let me appraise you this.
Folks, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the opportunity to share, to teach, to guide, if you will. The one thing I've learned as a coach and a mentor, I've learned a lot of things, but one of the things that I have learned as a coach and a mentor is that you can inspire, but you can't require. You can inspire people to be better. You can inspire people to do things that will help and benefit their lives. But in the end, it's your decision. It's your decision whether you accept this new technology. It's your decision whether you accept new products that are coming onto the market. It's your decision. I love that about appraisers. I love that about people. We have our opportunity to make choices and to move forward. It is my encouragement that you take another look at the technology, the software, the hardware, the amazing things that are out there will allow you to be more successful as a real estate appraiser. Thank you for joining me today, folks, and we will catch you next time.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star Team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.
I'm only the appraiser. Let me appraise you this.